For this next lesson, we are going to look at evaluating expressions. First off, reminder that when we are evaluating, we are finding the value of. The word value is kind of in evaluate. A lot of people want to say solve. We only solve equations, but we really are getting our answer here. To do this, we are going to use the order of operations. If you remember PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we do parentheses, then exponents, then multiplying and dividing left to right, then adding and subtracting left to right. So for these first two, we're going to use the values if x is -9 and y is -3. I first look to see if there's any negatives and subtractions that I can change here. There's not. So then I'm going to plug in. So it's the opposite of our y value, -3, minus our x value of -9 squared. So there's lots of negatives, there's lots of subtractions. It can be very easy to make silly mistakes. Remember that we can use negatives and subtraction signs interchangeably. So here's where I have to be careful. We've got these negatives, we got these subtractions. The first thing that I should be applying is exponents, okay? Biggest mistake that people will make here is they will get rid of these negatives first before looking at the exponents. Well, we have -9 squared. Exponents comes before addition or subtraction, right? Exponents first. So we need to square the -9 first. -9 times -9 is positive 81. Then I'm bringing down my minus sign. Problem is, what people will do is they'll get rid of those first and say, oh, that double negative means a positive, and then you end up getting positive 81 instead. That is wrong. Over here where I see these double negatives, I can switch that right away. The opposite of -3 is +3. That double negative becomes a positive. So we have +3. The reason I can switch it here but not here is exponents has to come first. There's no exponents over here that we have to deal with. So now we just have 3 minus 81. They're opposites. We find the difference, which is 78. There's more negatives than positives. If you had looked at that and you wanted to initially write that and say right here, because there's no exponents or anything, that you're plugging in the opposite of y, you could have went to immediately plugging that in as 3 minus -9 squared. That would have worked as well. Now, number 2. In this case, I do want to look to see if I can simplify anything first, because all we have here is additions and subtractions and negatives. So when I see this double negative here, since there's no exponent to worry about, I can change this right away to a plus. So really, we have -x plus y, which is going to make it easier for plugging in purposes. Kind of like I did over here. If I want to look at this and say I have the opposite of x, well, if x is -9, the opposite of x is +9. Or we could plug it in as is. The opposite of our x value of -9 plus our y value of -3. But then the same thing would apply here. The opposite of negative, that double negative is a positive. So we really have 9 plus -3. 9 plus -3 is 6. There's more positives, so it stays positive. Okay, for this next one, we put what the numbers equal in the actual problem here, because they're different for both of these. So for number 3, I don't see any exponents that I have to worry about, so I'm going to simplify when I see this double negative first. So I see the minus, negative, that double negative means plus. So really, if you want to rewrite it, we have 5z minus x plus y. Now I'm going to plug in. We have 5 times our z value, which is -10, minus our x value of -12, plus our y value of 82. When I'm calculating here, I am in grouping any operation to the left with what I have to multiply. So here, I have 5 times negative 10 is negative 50. Over here, I'm going to group that subtraction with it, which really I have this double negative minus a negative, which becomes plus. So that's just plus 12. And over here, we have plus a positive, so it's just plus 82. Now, we're going to just do these on the left first. Negative 50 plus positive 12. I'm grouping that. Negative 50 and positive 12 gives me negative 38. We find the difference. That's 38. There's more negatives than positives. Now I'm bringing down my plus 82. They are opposites, 82 and 38, so we're going to subtract, which gives me 44. There were more positives, so it stays positive. Number 4, we're going to use these values up here as we're plugging in. I don't have any double negatives or anything yet to start switching in, so I'm just going to start plugging in. Right here, if I want to, I can look at this and it says the opposite of x. Well, the opposite of negative 15 is positive 15. Minus 4 times our y value of negative 6 plus 7 times our z value of negative 9. Now we're going to simplify. This 15, we already kind of simplified that. That's staying as 15. Over here, grouping in the subtraction with it, we are doing negative 4 times negative 6, which is positive 24. And then here we have a positive 7 and a negative 9, which is negative 63. Now we have addition and subtraction. It's going to go left to right. So we've got positive 15 and positive 24, which is going to give me positive 39 minus 63. Then we've got a positive 39 and a negative 63, which we find the difference, which is 24. There's more negatives, so it is negative. Okay, next set. First, I'm going to see if I can simplify anything here. I see this double negative. I can get rid of that right away because we don't have exponents that we have to worry about. So really, this is the opposite of x opposite of y or negative y plus x plus 3z. So let's plug in. The opposite of y, the opposite of negative 128 is positive 128 plus our x value of 65 plus 3 times our z value of negative 7. Now as I'm calculating, we've got positive 128 plus 65, and then I'm doing my multiplication here. Positive 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. Now we just have addition and subtraction, so we're going to go left to right. Positive 128 and positive 65. We're just adding those together. We get 193. Minus 21. 193 minus 21 is 172. Okay, next one. We've got some division problems here. So as I'm plugging in, this is 6 times our x value of negative 10 squared over 5 times our y value of negative 3. When we're doing division like this, I need to simplify everything on the top and then simplify everything on the bottom. And we have to be extra careful because just like there was on the previous page, 6 next to x means multiplication, so we're multiplying these two. And then we have an exponent. Per the order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Exponents comes before multiplication. So I have to first do that exponent before I multiply it by 6, and that's where people tend to make mistakes. So what this becomes is negative 10 times negative 10 is positive 100. So we're doing 6 times 100 over 5 times negative 3. Now I can simplify both of these at the same time, both of these multiplications. 6 times 100 is 600 over 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. And then I'm going to calculate like this. Forget about the 0 for a second. 60 divided by negative 15 is negative 4, and then add that 0 back in. So negative 40. Number 7, same setup here as the last one. There's just not multiplication with it. But I will say this tends to be the type of problem I see a lot of people making mistakes on, and there is a question like it on the test. As I'm plugging in, this technically means negative 1 times x squared. So order of operations is we have to do the exponent first, then we're going to apply that negative. So what I like to do is I like to write it with parentheses, that we're taking negative 12 and we're going to square that first. So that will be the first thing that we have to do before we apply that negative on the outside over our y value of 4. So negative 12 squared is positive 144. Then I'm applying that negative divided by 4. So 144 divided by 4 is equal to 36. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. Have to be so careful, right? Like I said, it's multiplication and exponents. We do the exponent first, so we square the x first, then we apply that negative with it. All right, last one here. We have a, b next to each other. That whole entire thing is squared. So we're doing our a value of negative 2 times our b value of 6, but this whole entire thing is squared over our c value of 4 times our a value of negative 2. Now, I'm first going to multiply these two together, then we will square it. So negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. That quantity is being squared over 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8. Now I'm going to square negative 12 squared. Negative 12 times negative 12 is positive 144 over negative 8 is equal to negative 18.